If they, are we?
There you go.
Now we're going. All right, I have 8:30. This is the Public Safety Standing Committee. I appreciate everybody being able to make it. We do have a few time deadlines that we're going to try and meet. So we're going to try and efficiently go through the meeting, but certainly don't want to restrict anything or cut anything off. So I guess what I wanted to do also is make sure everybody knew the new members that are on the committee. And you guys just want to introduce yourselves down the line.
My time was at the VA in Madison and Richland Hospital, and I have 2 sons, 5 grandchildren.
Wow, very nice. Steve?
Steve Meyer, I'm Dayton Township, retired from the federal government. That's about it.
I'm Shirley Welty. I live in Dayton Township. I represent District 8. My husband and I raise sheep on our farm that was once a dairy farm that he was raised on. We have a couple kids and 4 grandchildren, and life is good. I worked in the energy industry. That was my career.
Hi, I'm Mary Collins Johnsrud. I'm a retired probation agent. Worked in the county for at least 25 years. So retired and just kind of enjoying life, and thought I'd join the county board. So
And Vice Chair?
Tiffany Thompson, and I am live here in Richland Center from the Richland Township. I am a dental assistant. I am an OSHA and HIPAA educator. I also teach CPR. I'm also on the Richland School District and the Richland Township Board. So I have a few things going.
All right. All of you pretty much know me, so I'm not going to go into those details. Can we do a roll call, please?
Meyer.
Here,
Welty. Here. Thompson. Here. Nolan. Collins Johnsrud. Here. Frank.
Here.
You have 6 for a quorum, sir.
Awesome. And approval of the agenda. I would like to make an amendment to that slightly. Under item number 5, it says approval of the May 10th, 2026 meeting. Should say minutes. So if we approve the agenda, I'd like to make that alter to change that, to update that, to make sure we add the word minutes. So looking for an approval of the agenda with that change. Welty approves it. Motion second by Meyer. All in favor, say aye. All right. Any opposed? Very good. Moving on. Public comment. This is a moment for public comment. I don't see anybody in the room specifically. Anybody online?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you've approved the agenda as amended. Are you going to approve this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, we should do that after we did that. Okay, item number 5, approval. So we approved the changes. So now we have to approve the minutes from April 10th, 2026. Those are in your packet. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Then from a
I moved to approve the minutes.
motion from Welty, second. Johnsrud. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you for correcting me on that. Number 6, then public comment. Just trying to move it along. Public comment online? Public comment in the room? Hearing none, moving on to reports. Item number 7, sheriff reports.
So I do have a brief presentation about the Office of Sheriff. I know that we were asked to present about our offices. So I can do that, or we can skip that. It's like 11 slides. It should be fairly short.
If you want to go ahead.
All right, why don't we go ahead into that then? The Office of the Sheriff is the oldest law enforcement office within the common law system. It dates back over 1,000 years. In America, it was started probably in the 1630s, be one of the first recorded sheriffs. So colonial America. In Wisconsin, it's a constitutional officer elected by the voters and established under Article 6 of the Constitution, state constitution. And the duties are assigned by statute and common law. Next slide, office versus department. You hear a lot of people refer to us as the sheriff's department. Truly, we are an office. A department is a division of government administration. An office is a public trust with legal authority and responsibility. So I threw this extra note in there. Department heads are generally derive their authority through appointment and delegation. The sheriff derives his authority through constitutional office and election by the voters. Next slide. Constitutional duties recognized by Wisconsin courts, and it's kind of maybe a poor wording of that. But there are certain duties of the sheriff because our duties are not in the Constitution itself, they're in statute. There are certain duties that have been upheld by the courts and state that they are at the discretion of the sheriff themselves. And that is preserving the peace, maintaining custody of the jail, attending upon the courts, and serving legal processes, and apprehending and transporting prisoners. So as the official responsible for those duties, I retain the discretion on how those duties are delivered. And that has been found to be or upheld by the courts in Wisconsin. The statutory duties of the office of sheriff, again, kind of fall right in line with what that last slide was. We operate the jail, maintain inmate records, attend upon the courts, serve warrants and court orders, preserve the peace, conduct rescue and recovery operations within the boundaries of the county, and enforce laws and ordinances. And so these are under Chapter 59 of Wisconsin State Statutes, 5927, 5928. And this isn't a comprehensive list. There actually is more and more detail for each one of them. But these are kind of the bulk of what we do. Next slide is just a snapshot of my office specifically for staffing. So by myself, Chief Deputy Aaron Wallace, I have 2 lieutenants, a lieutenant that oversees patrol and investigations, and a lieutenant that oversees jail and dispatch. 14 patrol deputies, of that 2 are supervisors, patrol sergeants, 1 investigator, 14 jailer dispatchers. It's a combined role. They do both jobs. 2 of them are sergeants. And then I have 2 administrative office staff that help me keep the place running. On the next slide, I just got a narrow look at 2025, what we did. If you want to go back and look at the March meeting notes, I do have a presentation that goes into a bit more detail. But dispatch handled 53,867 calls last year. Of those calls, 8,640 were requests for law enforcement, fire, or EMS services. The jail had 628 bookings. We had an average daily population of 20.42 inmates and an average of 4.935 on electronic monitoring. Patrol handled 4,531 calls, and we conducted 2,244 traffic stops. And I don't know the exact number, but just to throw it out there, it was roughly around 500 citations. So a lot more stops to citations. Next slide. So duty to preserve the peace is probably one of the oldest and most fundamental responsibilities of the office. It actually has its own subsection under statutes that would be 59.8, which is we keep and preserve the peace, suppress riots and unlawful assemblies, apprehend offenders, protect life and property, and maintain public order. On the next slide, our role in the judicial system. We are the primary law enforcement agency in the state, or in the county. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. So we have investigative jurisdiction within the boundaries of the county to include all the municipalities. But our functions in the justice system, again, law enforcement, court security, prisoner transport, service of processes, and execution of court orders. On the next slide, So we interact or touch nearly every other major county, entity. So we work closely with the county board, obviously, the administrator, the courts, highway department, human services, public health, and emergency management. Outside of county government, we work closely with municipalities, schools, and our state and federal partners. Again, just to touch on our authority, we derive our authority from the Constitution, state statutes, court decisions, and ultimately election. So we are accountable by election through the courts, held accountable, I should say, state law, budget oversight, and public record law. Any questions about that? I kind of burned through it kind of fast.
I have
Yes.
a question. What, in relation to the EMS, do you have someone on every call? Or do you just go if there's something special?
It depends. I would say frequently we have somebody on the call, but not every call. Yep. So yeah, it would be quite common for us to have a deputy that would respond to EMS calls, but it is not every call.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions on the presentation? Hearing that, continue, thank you.
For my monthly report, I guess I'll go back to April as well. So for number of jail bookings in April, we had 43. May, we had 51. Average number of inmates housed, April, we had 33.6. May, we had 31.99, 32. April monthly complaints, we had 423 complaints for the month of April, or calls. When I say complaints, what I mean is it's calls that deputies had handled. In May, we had 474. April citations were 81, May 60. Civil process papers served for the month of April, we had 38, and May 37. And then transports, April was 6 transports, May was 7. And then the average number of electronic monitoring for both months was 3. Calls for service, so calls into the dispatch center. April, we had a total of 701. May, we had 758. Calls for the EMS, we had 96 calls in April and 107 in May. And calls for the police department, Richland Center Police Department, we had 146 in April and 155 in May. And calls for the fire department, we had 19 in April and 21 for May. That's Richland Center Fire specifically.
So for the new committee, we do ask the department's office to present their information for the month. I don't know all committees do that. We like that. We think it helps people understand it every month, and we've got a record of that we can go back and look at, especially as it might come up with, do we need a new jail? Do we need things? We have a history. We have that documentation. So if there's things on here you go, hey, I'd like to see more of, or I'd like to see less of, or that's something the committee can decide and ask to put into those reports. Okay? Questions on this report? Yes.
Typically goes up in the summer, the amount of calls and the amount of
Yep. Yeah.
custodies and the summer.
Yeah, citations usually climb a little bit, calls climb a little bit. Yep. So
Question for me. For transports, where are people being transported to?
Some are being transported to prison. Some are being brought back from prison for court. We're bringing people back from other counties for court here.
Commitments?
Mental health commitments. So that's kind of the bulk of what it is. Yep.
Other questions?
Why are you doing all the transport? You have to have them here personally, or can you do some of that on Zoom?
So, and I can let them speak to this as well, but in a lot of cases, the person has the right to request to be here in person. So I would say in most cases, they have the right to request to be here in person.
For evidentiary hearings, I don't think the court has to approve of transports for scheduling and general administrative matters with the courts, but for sentencing and evidentiary hearings, they do.
It isn't the prisoner's decision to come here.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is.
I would say the bulk of appearances for persons in custody, whether it's at county or prisons, that they are done by Zoom.
Yes, and that's a huge change from the past. So in the past, I think you would have seen these numbers much, much, much higher. But after COVID and sort of this institution of Zoom, people are able to appear by Zoom and are more comfortable appearing by Zoom. But defendants do have a right to appear in person. A lot of them don't want to because it disrupts the programming at the institution where they're at. Or it's just a long drive, so they don't want to do that. But they do have the right to do that. But they got to get them there. It's not their responsibility to get to the psychiatric facility or the prison. And, you know, sometimes they're bringing them from other jails. Sometimes there's warrants for people and they pick them up in another county and they're in that jail. Well, law enforcement has to go get them and bring them back to our jail. There's really no options there.
Or another state.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's imperative that the video conferencing equipment in the courtroom always works.
And the small courtroom.
In both courtrooms works. It's so important because that limits transports, unnecessary transports, which ultimately limits cost and disruptions and potential security risks.
That's what I was thinking. One guy goes, takes them in and then you're all that mileage and then he has to turn around back by himself. It's a lot. It's a whole day of an officer, it sounds like.
I mean, for most of our mental health, they go to Winnebago, which is a 3.5 hour drive one way. So, I mean, like you said, 7 hours just transport someone up there.
Is it one officer or two?
Depends, a lot of times it's one, but it depends on the person. Yes. Yeah.
Most persons on mental commitments are appearing electronically, aren't they?
Yeah,
I
I think so.
I can't,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
But
of
they-
when I've seen somebody in one of those in person.
They do have the right, and every once in a while, they do
Yeah.
request to be in person, so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You know, and people sometimes, depending on the individual and whatever struggles they might have, it might be difficult for them to understand what's happening just on a video screen. Or they have a need to see everything that's going on, or I might need to see people in person. You know, you lose a lot when you have something on a video screen. So it's on a case by case basis, for sure. You know, the interesting thing about Winnebago, as Aaron mentioned, is that's the chief place that they take people who are on these emergency detentions for involuntary mental commitments. Used to be, we had facilities around here. Remember when Boscobel had a psychiatric hospital, our ward, our unit, and we could just take them there.
Yeah.
But over time, all of these small rural hospitals have lost their psychiatric units because they've lost the resources to be able to maintain them. So now our law enforcement is forced to take these individuals far, far from home, which isn't necessarily good for them either. And, you know, waste our resources doing that, transporting them up there, transporting them back. So, you know, that's just part of the bigger picture.
Can I ask who you are?
Oh, I'm the judge. I'm Lisa McDougall.
I'm sorry, I should have had them introduce themselves also. I apologize for that. Going through the minutes, I thought we were the agenda.
Any other questions? All right, so we can move on to the monthly bills. Actually, believe I just have May's bills in here. I don't think that April's is included. But any questions about May's bills?
So the bills again are also in here. We don't not need to approve those. Those are already taken care of, but the committee in the past has said it's good to see them. It's good to be able to look over them and go, what's this for? Why is this? And ask those clarifying questions. So if you want to take a look at those, and if you have any questions on those, this would be a great time to do that.
If you have any questions about any specific bill.
And to look through that.
Do you typically go with one certain automotive repair place?
No, we kind of spread it around. So you'll see a smattering of our local shops on there, yeah. Yeah, some of the bigger ticket items that you'll see, you know, recurring month to month are going to be ACH, Advanced Correctional Health, that's our healthcare provider for the jail. Elior, that's our meal provider for the jail. So those are the ones that you're gonna see regularly that are gonna be a little bit on the higher side.
Questions on bills? All right. Continue then.
Staffing memo. We do have 2 openings in the jail currently. We have a male jailer opening and a female jailer opening. Hope to be interviewing in the middle of the month for those to replace those. So, and then we had one of our casual or part-time employees resign. He's in college, he's starting his internship in the field that he's looking to go into, so that would be Ethan Jones. Shirley Stinson resigned in May, and Zane is gone now. Zane Sumwalt had turned in his resignation, and he'll be here towards the end of the month still.
You want to roughly go over the hiring process? That's a little unique.
So, for the hiring process, we accept applications, then we have a written examination. And from there, we go to an interview. The first interview panel is actually department staff here. So we have jailers, road staff that'll do the interview process, depending on which division the person is applying for. Usually we do have crossover into both. So if it's a road position, we'll bring somebody from jail dispatch into the interview process and vice versa. From that interview, there's 5 candidates that will be moved on. It used to be that we had this committee interview them. Now it is the chair of this committee and their designee, the county administrator, myself, Chief Deputy Wallace, and usually the lieutenants do that last final interview. And then from there, I'm provided with 3 candidates to fill positions with. So, then they have to go through background investigations and physicals and mental health screenings and all that stuff. So they're not quite done yet, but there's, yeah.
So for the committee, the reason that the chair or designee is put in there as the public entity into law enforcement, we kind of wanted, that was a transition we thought was good for this committee to have some input on that. And so that's why it's been that way, from the entire committee to just one individual.
And it was a struggle at times to try and, lately in law enforcement, candidates are moving so fast that if we don't move fast in our processes, sometimes getting a quorum together for an interview was a struggle. So this made it a little more streamlined. We still had input from the committee, but we didn't have to get the whole committee here.
Questions on that?
Yeah, so you're saying that someone of us might be in on that with you, or are you?
So so it will be the chair, or the chair will designate somebody.
Oh, okay.
So if I can't, or somebody's interested, then I would designate that person to sit in on those. So if you're interested, let me know. Okay. Covered? All right. Anything else then?
We just have the squad miles. Again, not much to discuss there, but in the past, the committee's been interested in what the mileage is on our cars. We do have take-home cars here, so every patrol deputy is assigned a car. So I mean, you can kind of track their mileage month to month from that and see about what they're doing. Everybody's a little bit different, but that gives the committee an idea of what we're putting on for mileage.
And again, then this is used for budget, to know what we need, how many squads we need to budget for the next year. Every month we can see and get that projection as to where we need to be for it.
And we kind of forecast a few years out then of how many cars we think we're gonna need. So, yeah.
We're trying to, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just trying to switch out squads close to 100,000 miles. That way we can get better resale value on it from the cars, and then we put that money back towards a new vehicle as well. Go much over the 100,000 miles, and a lot of times we have issues with maintenance issues, things start to go bad at over 100,000 miles, and cost to repair them goes up quite a bit.
You answered my question.
That's the way the report should be, shouldn't it?
I heard you donated a car to Health Services.
Yep.
That was nice.
Yeah, we donated one to Health and Human Services.
UMass.
We donated one to EMS, Emergency Government. And then the highway shop has two of our previous squad cars, so.
Is vehicle 6898, the red line, is that still in the fleet but out of service or something?
That one, the red line, is one that the transmission completely went, so that one's completely out of service. And eventually we'll put a different vehicle in that spot, but I just want to make sure we still have it.
Yeah.
It's still under our.
The engine actually is, the engine was had a catastrophic failure, so the joys of the 3.5 EcoBoost. So,
I get it.
yeah.
Questions from the committee? Other things you'd like to see? Take a look at these. If you have other ideas or questions you want, we can make sure those get in there. All right, hearing none, anything else, Sheriff?
Nope.
All right, item number B then, 7B is the coroner's report. The coroner's report is in your packet. Get the report every month from Jim Rosing, and kind of gives you a breakdown of what's happened in the county and the things he's doing. They are continually and regularly short-staffed for people helping out for deputies. It's a pay-per-call item, so that's a tough one to get people. But coroner's report is in there. Any questions on the coroner's report? Okay. Hearing none, we were going to move then on to the circuit court judge, and I apologize for not introducing you before. So
Oh.
go ahead.
All right, so I'm Judge McDougall. I'm the only judge in this county. This month marks the beginning of my 5th year as circuit court judge. I know. Prior to that, I obviously was an attorney, and I've been working in that county in these capacities for more than 20 years now. So I've been around for a while. Just lurking in the shadows, I guess. I'm not sure. I guess I just want to start by pointing out that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the correct name of this committee is Public Safety and Judiciary Standing Committee. Is that right?
Right, and that's a discussion I believe the name is Public Safety Standing Committee. Currently, it was Public Safety Judiciary. I think 2 years ago when they reorganized it.
No, the former administrator just dropped the name judiciary, and we've been begging to get it back.
Right, and Stacy has brought this up to have it on the agenda. I postponed it twice because I wanted to come up to this new committee instead of bumping it to the old committee. So we can put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
I mean, it would be good to get that addressed, only because clearly public safety is only not a small, but a part of what we do in the circuit court. There's a whole lot more to it. I think people need to know that. And, it's tempting to feel like maybe, and sometimes we're an afterthought. And I think that partly that's because we get done what we need to get done. We function adequately, and people expect us to do that. So, I think that's probably part of the reason why we're not front and center all the time. But we do have needs, and we do need to bring them to this committee. And we want people to know what we do. We have board members tell us all the time, they've never even been in the courtroom ever, that they've never been out and seen a court hearing. And that's not a bad thing, because that means you don't have many legal entanglements, right? So I know Mary has, we know Mary. But not for persons, right? So just as a little bit of an overview, this is a one-judge county. That means that I take care of all kinds of cases, but I don't do it alone. I've got a lot of support and support staff without whom I couldn't do any of this. And I don't think people realize what goes on behind the scenes and what it takes to actually take a court case from beginning to end. We have here in the county a family court commissioner who hears certain types of cases and can preside over certain types of cases. She's actually been in that capacity, I think, since 1997. And she's otherwise retired, and she's an amazing resource for me and for the county. And she does her work at an extremely low hourly rate. And I think that people need to know that. I meet with her almost on a weekly basis. She teaches me a lot because she's been doing this longer than I've been practicing law. So then we have the court staff. We've got Stacy, who's our clerk of court, and she's got her own staff. And then we have Jenny, who is our register and probate and juvenile clerk. She's also my assistant. So Jenny wears 3 different hats, and she's always juggling things, and she's very, very good at it. She also has an assistant. So Stacy has 2 assistants. She has
Deputy clerks.
She's got Sarah.
We're not clerical.
She's got Sarah and DJ, and then Jenny has Jenny. And all of these individuals are very competent and smart. And frankly, in my opinion, we're lucky to have them because they know what they're doing at this point. They don't make a lot of errors. They like to work. They're not lazy. They work hard, and they get things done. And I can rely on them. We also have our court reporter, Veronica. Now, we kind of operate under a hybrid system. I'm a state employee. My court reporter is a state employee. The rest of these individuals are county employees. So we all have to work together and figure things out for the good of the county. Our job, of course, is the administration of justice, essentially. And I think the citizens of our county expect that our system will work well. And it has worked well. I've been reflecting about what our society would look like if we didn't have a court system that worked as we expected to, and what a disaster that would be. But it really does take the support of both the state and the county for that to occur. We do have our challenges, and we like to bring them up here over and over and over again because we do need the county to move on certain things. I think primarily right now, we have an eye toward the fact that things are changing in the county, that we need to look toward building a new jail. We need to address the security issues and the nature of our own physical infrastructure. And the fact that the layout of our courtroom is not very secure. Our staff is not always secure. We meet quarterly. We have a subcommittee called Courthouse Security and Facilities Committee that's mandated by the state, and I chair that committee. So we talk about those issues, and we've got a lot of good ideas, but they need funding. And we've implemented a bunch of those ideas, and they're, a little bit at a time, really. But I know that we're coming up on some bigger changes, and we've got an eye toward that. We need to address our technology issues as discussed. We have a second courtroom for, even though we're one judge, we often have other judges coming in. We often have our court commissioner doing things, and we have need for an operational second courtroom. We have the space, but we don't really have the technology in there. So we need to make that functional. And as we look at the changes that might happen with a renovation around here, we need to do it well. We need to really invest in it. We need to employ people who know what they're doing to make sure that we're up to par, essentially, when all is said and done. We have another, so I chair that subcommittee, and I also chair another subcommittee, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, where there we do talk all things public safety. That committee is also the oversight committee for our treatment court. We have a very vibrant treatment court that's been around for almost 10 years now. And it's an important piece of what we do. because it allows us in a very unique way address criminal defendants who have specific issues with substance use disorders, who are longstanding in the community and often chronic users of the of law enforcement and the criminal justice system. So I look forward to talking to you all more about that in the future. I do want to say that I would be happy to give anyone a personal tour, any of our county board members, answer questions, let you see what's going on, invite you to come. Most, not all, but most court hearings are public. You can come and just observe, get a feel for it if that's of interest to you. We'd be happy to educate you more, let you get to know our amazing staff, see what we do, and realize how important it is, and truly how the court system is a core function of government. Without the support of our county, we cannot function. And if that doesn't occur, then we are all in a world of hurt. So, all right, I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to meet and talk with any of you, and happy to see you again in the future.
Questions for Judge?
I just want to say that I did go on a tour with all three of them, and it was very, it was very eye-opening and very informative.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Moving on then to item D, courthouse security report. Anything to add at this moment?
Well, just that we continue to make small changes. We meet quarterly, and my hope is that we can sort of dovetail with some of the decision makers who are talking about the changes that are upcoming with jail, but with any renovations or whatever is decided in terms of what's appropriate for the court facilities, because not only do we need facilities that are appropriate for our day and age, that are efficient, allow us to work together, but there has to be a huge focus on security, courthouse security. You know, I heard that every single day in the United States, there is a security incident in some courthouse in the United States every single day. That doesn't mean somebody gets shot and killed necessarily, but it is a big deal. And, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, big problem was fires, because there weren't adequate fire codes and there wasn't adequate fire safeties. And as a result, our communities developed and our laws evolved to include very strict fire safety laws and codes, to the point where we're not really worried too much about fires in our public buildings anymore. We all accept that. But that's not the case with certain security, whether it's a school or the courthouse. And so, we all need to collectively move forward with that. And I appreciate our courthouse security. It's one more committee meeting that people need to come to. So I know that people don't like meetings, but it is very important that we talk about it, we continue to talk about it, and keep it in the forefront.
Questions on courthouse security?
I just would like to add one thing. So our next courthouse security and facilities meeting will be on July 6th at 10:30. That is a new time and a new location. So typically, it's been back and forth a little bit. So a lot of times we've had the meeting here in the county boardroom, but this meeting is going to be held in the large courtroom. And it is following the July 4th weekend. So I will be sending out an email likely next week, just so that people can start getting that on their calendar. And so again, that's July 6th at 10:30 in the large courtroom. So
that is an open meeting.
It's an open meeting, and we only meet quarterly. We don't meet every month. And we will be looking at, again, the small changes that we can do right away, and then the big picture as well for down the road kind of work.
Vision down the road, yes. Questions on courthouse security? All right, thank you.
I want to ask a question. If you're talking about all this, we're talking about the jail, we're talking about the courthouse. Are you telling us that this should be a complex of, if we do one, we should do the other? Because I'm learning this county board and reading them, they're not very into this whole big complex without a lot of oversight.
Whether the county builds a big complex or not isn't really my decision. You know, what I do know that the county board did was passed a resolution saying that they were making courthouse security a priority. And so I would say maybe in tandem with dealing with the jail issues is dealing with courthouse security issues. And of course, as you can imagine, there's an overlap and they dovetail with one another. So yeah, I mean, a big complex would be great, but that really is above my pay grade.
I think that's gonna be a really, really, really expensive thing that we probably can't even look at. But people out there are interested. How do you answer questions about the jail and the courthouse?
And
Do we just?
I think ideally it would be a complex. Financially, I don't think that's gonna be in the cards for the county. And that's me speaking, I'm not a financial person, but I think what we need to do is if we build a new jail off campus, which I think is probably gonna be the likely thing, I think we need to build it in such a way that down the road, we could attach a new courthouse to it.
That's a great.
So that's where my thought is if we can't build them together, we need to put that into the planning of how do we attach it later on.
I think so. You're playing, you can't even you have to have somebody in the courtroom all the time.
Yeah, yep. And we're constantly bringing people back and forth to the court, so, yeah.
But in the meantime, we can't continue to delay certain needs that could be accomplished on a smaller scale. Because that type of deferred planning and deferred maintenance and everything is what's got us to this point. And so these aren't new issues that we've been talking about with the courtrooms and with the courthouse. And the answer that we've always gotten is, well, we have to wait because maybe we're gonna build a new facility. Well, now if it sounds like we're gonna build a new jail, and that's a need, and we're doing that, we still have to address the insufficiencies within the courthouse. We can't continue to use that as an excuse or a reason that we're not making modifications, and sometimes we're not repairing things. My office, last summer or summer before, was without air. And presently in the front office, again, we're without air. I think the register's been worked on 4 times. And I can't breathe in there. It's terrible. But, it's just, there's things that need to be taken care of. And maybe we need a different approach than just Band-Aids. And we can't just continue to hear, but maybe we're gonna do something bigger. So Stacy, that's why we gotta hold on. We're kind of tired of hearing that. We're not saying that we need a new building and we understand the financial constrictions of it. But some type of planning has to be addressed.
Do you work under a budget every year?
Yes, but it's an operating budget. And I always come in, well, I shouldn't say always, because that would be cocky to say if I then didn't, but nearly always under and bring in a lot of extra revenue that goes into the general fund. I'm the clerk of court, so my budget is operating. It has, there's no building repairs that are put into my budget. Those would be building maintenance and building infrastructure.
And when do we see that?
So,
Budget?
yeah, so we see that at budget time. We've also have a consultant that has come in and gone over plans for space needs, use needs, a vision for the courthouse or the courtroom and changing it. And so that is in our master plan. And we'll be seeing that as budget coming up. What items, what are the next items that we have to hit? One of the challenges we've had is the Zoom in the small courtroom. But as we ran into, do we put that in now or do we do some of the remodel to make that better? That's the overlap that we have to, that we're deciding for this next year. And I believe that's in the budget for 26, I think was the Zoom.
Well, we've been accumulating some capital improvement money for that, but in my meetings with Trish, you know, there's, again, this conversation about should we wait? Because maybe there's a big renovation coming. Okay, well, I get that, but then let's
Then it doesn't-
decide what we're gonna do and let's make something functional, you know? Yeah. It's
We've
time
had it
to-
on long-term planning, long-range planning. It's been on there for, maybe the first time was like 2023 and now we're in 2026. This isn't the first year that we've tried to address Zoom in the small courtroom.
So what I hear you saying is true, is that the funding is there, it's just that it's not being administered.
I think the funding maybe is there, it doesn't get appropriated to the courts.
I'm not sure. So we do have CCIP money, so capital improvement money that's been set aside year after year. I am assured that that is still there. I'm not sure it completely covers what we need to do. Because if we're gonna stay in that small courtroom, again, the setup in the small courtroom is terrible. And it needs that courtroom itself needs to be renovated. That leads to bigger questions of, is it even the right space for this? And, you know, I mean, it would take all day for us to talk about some of this stuff. But, so there is money there. I'm not sure there's enough money.
And the facilities committee has looked at that as do we go into the law library to increase that space for that small courtroom, and that increases the cost. So that's in the decision-making process that I think we're going to see also in the next budget cycle. Yes.
So the study that was done on facilities and all the information that was gathered, is that final report available along
Yeah.
with recommendations?
Yes, it is. I have to find
I
out.
can find it in one of the.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because I observed many of those meetings, but I haven't read the final.
Mhm.
I'll look for it.
I also have, a couple years ago, we had someone come in from the Supreme Court who was a capital marshal, and she did a pretty comprehensive court security assessment for this whole building. And I have that in written form. I would be happy to forward that to you if you ask me to.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm concerned though about exposure to some of the confidential information. It could also be exposing some of our risks and vulnerabilities. So I want to
Correct.
have that too.
Oh, absolutely, which is why I don't want to put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Could you send it to me?
Sure.
That courthouse security report? All right, moving on then. Clerk of court, Stacy.
Morning. My name is Stacy Kleist. I am the clerk of court here in Richland County. Like the sheriff, I am also a constitutional officer elected by the public. I do work with the judge. I'm, unlike the register and probate judicial assistant, I'm not the judge's staff. I'm a separate constitutional officer. So when a clerk of court is elected, they're not elected as like a person who is like a secretary or an assistant to the judge. They are a standalone constitutional office that derives the powers for their office from the Constitution and from Wisconsin statute, primarily 5940. So like in the same statute section as the sheriff. The report that I prepared for you this time, since the beginning of June was when the county administrator wanted all departments. And she refers to us as departments, even though, and not, you know, and offices, but each section has a budget to prepare a report of what services we provide and how many people those services affect and whether or not those services are mandated, that we have to have them. So this is the program worksheet in the same format that all other departments that administer a budget, that they're being asked to provide as kind of a document that sets the tone for going forward. Each year, offices and departments have been asked to do something similar to this, depends on, different administrators have wanted different formats. Administrator Clements has set this format, so I think going forward, you'll see things like this, and if you're on other committees, you'll probably see documents like this from them. So I try to break down what it is that we do under statute 5940. Primarily falls into 4 categories, really. Management of all of the court records, financial management, we're the clearinghouse for the courts. We collect all of the money that is court ordered, and then we disperse each month the money that is to be paid out to the state, to the county, and to the various municipalities. Primarily the city of Richland Center, and Lone Rock is a municipality that is now also funneling their matters through the circuit court, so eventually we'll have more of those too. Jury management is a big thing that clerks of court do. So I'm the person who summons jurors. If you've ever been a juror, you would get the summons from me. I procure the jurors each year, maintain all of the jury records confidentially, and ensure that the judge has jurors for the different events that we have. So far this year, we haven't had any jury trials, which is fantastic for that line in my budget. I can't promise that that's going to continue, but we typically have a few jury trials every year. Most of the work that the clerk of court and the deputy clerks of court do in the courtroom is for hearings other than jury trials. There are thousands of hearings on the judge's calendar, and every one of those hearings has to have someone from the clerk of court office. And the terminology for the people in the clerk of court's office, other than myself, is deputy clerk of court. That is a standard term throughout the state. They are not secretaries. They are not clerical assistants. They are sworn deputies. So the functions that we provide all support the court and the public. We're the office that provides access to the courts. So that's kind of where we are unique in that we serve the needs of agencies. From Mary knows, from probation and parole, we're regularly in contact with them post-dispositionally on criminal matters, but we also serve the child support agency pre and post-disposition and matters involving that. The sheriff's department, the district attorney's office, state agencies, Department of Corrections, Department of Transportation. We work with the Department of Revenue with our many collection initiatives that we do. And we work with individuals constantly. People do not need an appointment. Come to our office. We are the access to the courts. When they have a conflict in their lives that needs legal conflict resolution, and this is talking criminal court aside, because that's a given. Everybody thinks of the courts as criminal cases coming through, but most of the contact that we have with the public at our window is with people who are in need of a restraining order, a divorce hearing, a child custody dispute, a landlord-tenant issue. You name it, name changes, the things that eventually need a court ruling start out at the window of the clerk of court's office. So that is why in this report, I can't quantitate the exact number, but it is thousands. It literally is thousands. And we don't know what each one, just like the sheriff's department, dispatch answers the phone. They do not know what's at the end of that call. That's exactly the same as how our office rolls. We don't know what's at the end of the call or the issue that's across from us at the door. But it is our job to help those individuals find the avenue to work through their issues in a legal setting. So it's legal conflict resolution. And at the core of that is conflict, hence the need for proper security in the building. Surprisingly, and maybe not, the people who are feeling the most pressure, it seems, are those who come dealing with family matters. And that very first hearing, maybe the very first time that people, a husband and wife, see each other after they're split, that is probably the most highly emotionally fused hearing and times in those people's lives. So those emotions and those events are happening every day in our world, in addition to the matters that were involved with the DA and the sheriff and state patrol and others in having a part. So we take that very serious, that access to the courts. This next week, I actually have a chance to give a presentation at the Clerk of Court Conference in Onalaska. I've been asked to present on access to the courts and controlling the narrative. Because it's inherent in our job title, Clerk of Circuit Court. So immediately think they clerk, they take minutes, period. That makes it difficult for us to tell our story, but it's important to tell it because we are also administering budgets. We need resources in order to do all these things that we do. Primarily, we need staff. And so in my office, it's myself and 2 deputy clerks of court. As Judge McDougall said, she's the judge in the county. And we're a full 1-judge county. So judicial caseload, we're like nearly at a 1.0. That's, we don't need a second judge, but we don't need anything less than a full judge. Contrast to Buffalo County, further north in our same court district, they share a judge with Pepin County. So they have court with their judge 2, maybe 3 days a week. The Buffalo County Clerk of Court office has 2.5 deputies. So they're a 3.5 office. I am not asking for more staff. I have had more staff during certain transitions in the past, like when we've had judicial transitions and things were less automated than they are now with electronic filing and things like that. We can function as a 3-person office. We can function as a 4-person office as well, but I think we function very well as a 3-person office. We would not function with anything less than a 3-person office. And so when I'm preparing budget and I'm presenting, I'm going to be very passionate about remember 3. That is what we need. We do a lot of stuff. We do it with 3 people. And so we need to preserve all 3 positions in our department. Not asking for more. I'm asking to keep what we have, and then I will prove to you what we do with that. And as I present my reports, when you see my budget reports, you will see what I mean. I'm not going to go into the details of that. I will start showing you that at other meetings, because just like me learning my job, it was a marathon, not a sprint. And so for you guys to get the full picture, a grasp on really what we do in the courts, and particularly my office, the Clerk of Court office, I'm going to drop tidbits for you each month as we kind of come together and learn what it is that we do. So what questions do you guys have for me now?
Questions for Stacy at this point?
I observed this committee for the last year, so I'm kind of familiar with some of the issues that are going on. And Stacey, I heard you say at one time how many years you've been doing your role. Could you say that?
19. It'll be 19 at the beginning of July. And each of my staff has 7 years in the office this year. Since I've been a clerk, this is the most experience that we have had in that office. So 14, 19, 33 years. There was a point in the office when I was brand new and I was initially appointed from outside. And there was a point where I don't even think altogether we had 2 years of experience in the office, and we made it work, but it was hard. It's damn hard. And so that is another reason that it works so well, because you have very experienced staff. I am blessed with exceptional people. My chief deputy is Sarah Earhart. She's also our criminal and traffic clerk. So those are the cases that she's primarily going to be in court on. and the cases that she works from start to finish. DJ Adams is our deputy clerk, and he's the clerk of civil and family. So he is dealing with a lot of those high views situations when they first come in, but both of those guys can do the others. Everybody in our office can manage to do the duties that they would need to do in a courtroom, no matter what the case type is. And then if one of them is out, we shift who does what. I'm primarily financial and jury management. And so I do reconciling, and I do disbursements and a lot of reports and just overall budget management. But I'm also working on case matters all the time too. But those are the two who primarily are going to be in court. But we have the experience to be able to shift without missing a beat, only because we have that experience and we have those two exceptional staff.
Okay. Other questions? All right, so we are coming up on, we have the 9:45 swearing in of the county clerk in a bit, so we're gonna keep rolling through. Jennifer?
So I'm Jennifer Lau. I'm also happy to be called Jenny, but I kind of went back to Jennifer just because when we hired Jenny Marroquin, then it became confusing. So, and I do, as the judge mentioned already, hold 3 hats. I'm the register and probate, I'm the juvenile clerk, and I am her judicial assistant. So in some ways, I have 2 bosses. I was appointed by the judge as register and probate and judicial assistant. But I am a county employee, and so a lot of things still go to Trish as well, especially on the payroll side of things. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but and I just wanted to point out, the reason I mentioned all 3 titles is that in some counties, those 3 titles are actually held by 3 different people. So depending on the size, sometimes they are shared, sometimes a judicial assistant is also a register and probate, but oftentimes they have a separate juvenile clerk. So it is the juvenile court clerk, just to clarify that that person handles all of the juvenile cases. So just to briefly touch base on the juvenile side of things, those would be cases where children are in need of protection or services, often referred to as CHIPS cases. And so an example of that may be where the parents, one parent is out of the picture and the other parent becomes incarcerated. And so that child or the children in that family might need to be placed with an aunt, a grandparent, or if there's no family available, a foster parent. So those cases go, we all work together. That would include, the Richland County Health and Human Services departments with the CPS. And so those cases come to us. The other things are more the juvenile cases where there is a delinquent act formed by a minor, which is 17 or younger. So just real quick, like let's say there's some vandalism at the park or something, and that there are charges brought against that individual, and that would be a juvenile case. So all of those cases are confidential. You will not find them on CCAP, and because they involve a minor, they are confidential cases. As register and probate, switching to that had a little bit. So I maintain and process decedent estates. Again, sometimes that can be an emotional time for a family to be going through when they lost a loved one, especially if it was unexpected. Regardless if it was unexpected or not, it can be an emotional time and a difficult time. So my role there is to help them, give them procedural guidance on going through the probate process. So we do work closely with a lot of attorneys, the public, the other departments, Richland County Health and Human Services. So our office is often a liaison between a lot of these different people, questions that come before the judge. As judicial assistant, I try and support the judge in any way that she needs, whether that's, letters going out, communication, last minute things that come up in the courtroom, So any way that I can be of help to her as judicial assistant, and again, that is an appointment. So I enjoy the variety that I have. It keeps me very busy, but I do really enjoy having all three titles and roles. I too have a deputy, and I will say I'm very thankful to have that deputy. I do not feel like I could maintain my job without having a backup. I too have tried and gone through very difficult times when I did not have a backup. I'm trying to maneuver vacations or have Stacy cover for me. It's just again, there's two people in our office, and I cannot overstate how necessary it is to have two people in our office. So there were different times when referendums have come up, and we have tried to just communicate the essential necessity to have two people in the register and probate office. So really, I can go, I think at another time, I can go into additional case types. In our office, we handle of the guardianship cases, emergency detentions, the mental cases, and adoptions, termination of parental rights cases. So there's lots of case types that come through, and I can go into more detail another day on all of those if there's specific questions. Another time, I'll go into a little bit of the role a guardian ad litem, which is an attorney serves, and those types of things. But for today, since we're a bit short on time and we have this swearing in 5 minutes, I'm going to keep this pretty short and just see if you have any questions at this time.
Committee questions? Yes.
Can I say one thing? I want to thank Mr. Wallace and Jenny and Stacy. They grew up here. They came back here to work, and I sure appreciate all you do. You know, I'm just an average citizen. But without people, we need to bring more of you back.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, District Attorney.
There, I'm Jennifer Harper, I'm the district attorney. For now, I am a constitutional officer. All of the duties in my office are mandated by Chapter 978 of the Wisconsin statutes. There are no non-mandatory, non-core function duties that come through my office. Anything that is non-mandatory or non-core, if we are operating within our scope of employment in the district attorney's office, if someone wants to sue us, then the Department of Justice stands in for us and acts as our counsel. If we operate outside the scope of our employment, then we have no legal representation. So we're always very clear on staying within the scope of our employment, which again is all mandatory, all set forth by Chapter 978. What does that mean? I don't think it's any surprise. District Attorney's Office, by statute, we are the sole entity at the county level, at this level, of prosecuting criminal cases, ordinance cases that conform with criminal statutes, John Doe cases. I'm required as a district attorney by statute to provide a budget for our office to the state for the component that the state funds for our office. When it comes to criminal prosecution, it's kind of like seeing a pastor in the pulpit on Sunday for an hour. That's the tip of the iceberg. That doesn't include what happens for the rest of the week for the pastor, or what happens before court for the district attorney's office. We start with investigation. I think we work most closely with law enforcement because between the two prosecutors in my office, that would be me and Amy Forehand. I'll talk about the structure of my office in just a minute. Between the two of us, we appear in front of Judge McDougall more than any other two attorneys in this jurisdiction. So sometimes we're linked so closely with the court that we're sort of assumed to be most closely linked with the court, because that's really the public perception. That's the 1 minute or 1 hour in the pulpit. We are most closely associated with law enforcement. It starts with investigations, cases start with warrants, cases start with consultation with law enforcement. command staff and I from the sheriff's department and the police department work very closely together. Aaron was sort of a new officer once upon a time when I started long, long ago. Does an excellent job. I was sort of disappointed when he came off the road as a road deputy and went to command staff, because I lost a really good road deputy along with SIS and sheriff. In any event, we work most closely then with new officers. We're trying to build them up to competency because someday the new officers, the officers that you might hire during this hiring process, might end up being the Aaron Wallace of the future. So we work really hard at doing that, particularly ADA forehand has a really good relationship with the younger officers. We are a law office. We are the only law office that is supported in Richland County. We work with law enforcement. We work probably secondly most closely with PNP, very often on the phone calling agents for cases where people are involved with probation and parole. They might be on probation, they might be on extended supervision, and now we have a new case going through courts. We need to sort of work with PNP to do that. Our missions aren't always the same. Sometimes there's institutional conflict between different departments which have different missions. But that's certainly just institutional. Then, of course, we work with the court, and we also work with victims. Really, we don't have we don't have a front-facing office with the community, for the most part. We work with law enforcement, we work with the courts, we work with PNP, we work with victims are really our primary constituents in that we have services that we are mandated to provide to victims. And that's under Chapter 950 of the Wisconsin statutes, also Marcy's Law, which was a constitutional amendment, which was approved some number of years ago. So we have a very large component of victim services that we have to provide, and that's become much more robust over the years. It's also become much more robust because of the structure of court, which often involves Zoom. Judge McDougall and most judges in the state have been very accommodating to allowing victims to appear via Zoom. As you can imagine, someone's victimized. The case is here, but they live in Minneapolis. Prior to the Zoom world, that person was really never going to get to engage in their criminal case when they were victimized. But now that we've had Zoom, they have the opportunity to appear from wherever they are. They don't have to take a half day off of work. They don't have to travel and all those kind of things. But that then makes the interaction between my staff and the victims, it has really increased substantially along with that. We have, so we start with investigations, we do legal research, we have consultations with victims, then we have court filings, which sort of starts off the court process, and then we get to the court process. But really, that's sort of the tail end of our work, not the beginning of our work. My office is a hybrid office when it comes to funding. I'm editing out all the really boring historical details of that, but my office is comprised of two prosecutors, that would be the district attorney and the assistant district attorney, who is a 0.8 full-time, or 0.8 assistant district attorney. We are both paid by the state. Our money and our benefits and all those kind of things are paid by the state. The state also provides funding for our computers and not our printers, but our computers, but things like that. That's also a fight that was had many, many years ago. They don't pay for our copiers, have to come to the county to get a copier. Long story. In any event, so 54% of my office is funded by the state of Wisconsin. We also get, so there's two prosecutors, 1.8. Then we also have one legal secretary, that's Krista Parker. She's the only legal secretary in the county because we are the only legal office in the county. So that requires something different than clerical work. So sometimes some departments want to say, oh, she's just the front desk chick, right? Like the other front desk gals. And that's not really the case. And we want to clarify, just like the Madam Clerk of Courts wanted to clarify that they're Deputy Clerk of Courts. She is a legal secretary. And really what that means is we're all just carving out the space to say we're not all the same. So when you look at the budgets and you look at the funding for these positions, you don't just say those are the front desk chicks who answer the phone. I doubt that this board would use the word chicks as past boards have. We have 2 victim witness persons. One is Andrea Fields. She has been with the county as of tomorrow for 25 years. She started in child protection, health and human services. Then sometime 2003, 2004, she came to my office. She's been the victim witness coordinator since then. There has been a real change in the services that have been mandated for victims. They blossomed exponentially after Marcy's Law was passed by the Constitution, the constitutional amendment. That's how we have Denise Klingeman, who is also she's a victim witness coordinator. Andrea is more a supervisor. She has her own caseload, except she also deals with the legal ramifications regarding compliance with Marcy's Law. There are, you can be sued, not just as a government entity, but as a person for violation, specifically and individually for violations of Marcy's Law. That does not just stop at my office. That includes any government agency, including every single person on this board, at this committee, this board, the clerk of court's office, law enforcement. There's an opportunity to be sued under Marcy's Law, except the judge. The judge cannot be sued because that's a legislative component and you can't really,
Jen,
one branch of
we
government.
do have somebody who'd like to go up to the hearing for the swear-ins,
Of course.
but I don't want to cut you too short out, but I also know you're leaving.
It's fine. Anyone can go. I'm free to talk to anyone
Right.
after this
Right,
meeting,
but
which
yeah,
would probably be more candid. So whoever wants.
all right, that would be fine. But to do that, we have to kind of wrap up the meeting, so
Mr. Chair, it's fine.
I know, we're gonna process through.
We have to finish the meeting.
Right.
I
I understand.
Take a recess?
It's fine. I will give everyone the parting shot. I like new members. I'm leaving. I've retired, or I've not retired. I've submitted my resignation. I've been the district attorney for 15 years. I've been a prosecutor for 26 years. We like the enthusiasm of new board members, and we appreciate a job that is, in my view, I think would be awful. I think it would be awful to be sitting where you are sitting. But I will say, as a department head, we have had these meetings for decades, and we get the enthusiasm. And we get, let's do a study in 2014 for the space. Let's do another one. Let's keep paying for studies. Let's keep doing all of these kind of things, and nothing really changes. I've been asking for the same thing since 2011. And the district attorney before me stopped coming to meetings. He was 17 years in the job. Then I started coming to meetings, and everyone's like, oh, the DA's showing up. Well, you know what? The DA stopped showing up because nothing really changes. I'm really hopeful that there can be actual changes, not just the enthusiasm, but the follow through and the hard things that are necessary to really make this county function properly. I've done the best I can to set my office up for the next district attorney. It's now set to the governor has to make an appointment for my position. The appointment process is different than the election process, but I've set the office up as best I can so that we can have assistant district attorney beforehand take my position. I think that's the hope. I know that there's been support for her from law enforcement, certainly from me, from the court, from courthouse staff, from other district attorneys. That process is happening. Applications are due on June 15th. We'll see where we go from there. I hope we'll have a transition. If anyone would like to talk to me more candidly and outside the confines of this meeting, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
All right, any short questions?
No, I just want to thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
I have one. You said things not being addressed. Is there anything that sticks out that you would really like us to focus on?
I've been Marcy's Law non-compliant with the space in my office now for at least 11 years. The victim should not be sitting next to the jury in the jury room. Imagine being a sex assault victim and having to sit this close, literally this close to members of jury. Think about the last sexual experience that you had by yourself or someone else, talking about it out loud in front of a group of people, sitting this close to you. And now figure that that episode has been non-consensual. It is unfair, it is disgusting. We have tried to work on this for years. It is untenable. We keep going through this. We have to develop this. We have a study in 2014, space needs. We had another space needs assessment 2 or 3 years ago. We are doing nothing to protect victims on the stand. That is my #1 concern. Nothing has been done. It needs to be addressed. I've got a long list after that, but that's the most important list. The most important list is the list for our victims, particularly victims of child abuse and sex assault and domestics. Clear enough?
Yeah, I'd like to see the list.
I've got one.
All right, other questions? All right, we do have one decision. I'm going to bump down to number 8, discussion and possible action amending the minutes of the March 6th meeting. That just had to change the date on it. So we would need a motion to correct the minutes to state February 6th, 2026.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It's the February 6th is incorrect.
Well, that's
It
in-
should be March.
It should be March 6th, 2026. So a motion to correct the March 6th minutes to read that the Richland County Public Standing Committee convened on Friday, March 6th instead of February, March 6th. Motion from, second? Or Kevin, motion from Kevin, looking for a second. Second from Mary. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Future agenda, we're going to add the committee name change on that. The other items on there in your packet, if you're okay with that, we'll leave them in the packet, and no one here to discuss them. You can take a look at those.
I think
Yes.
Mark.
Mr. Chair, the interim director is online.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh, Barb, yes, you are, Barb.
Hi. I couldn't be there in person today, so I appreciate you taking just a minute for me. If you guys need to go to that, it's fine. There was just a couple of additional things that I did put into your packet today. On the sheet that you're looking at, I did add the billing for May of 25 compared to the billing of May of 26. This is really important because our call volume, if you look, is down significantly. We were in May, 113 calls in 26, 148 in 25. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I wasn't there in 25. I'm like, do we have a rash of illness? No, they were responding to fire alarms, which are not a billable call. So that's why the difference. But when we look at our billables are actually up. With 6 calls left to bill, our billing company has sent out 124,000 this month. So we're doing really great. There was a couple of repairs on unit 33. They were for lights. So that went up just a little bit. It was 9,000 last month, 10,000 this month. That's total for the year. The year-to-date revenues, we are in 2026, the revenues are at 455, 779, 78. The expenses, and this includes the write-offs that we talk about, the 40%, those are 531, 826, 42. That leaves us in a deficit right now, but there are a couple of things that have not come through. Our FAP grants, our WIGEMT, all of that should be coming in June. So I think we're going to be doing well. We do have a few employee updates I'd like to point out. Derek Goplin did leave. He was my captain, and he went to go to flight school. So I wish him the best. Kristen DeBerry became the service director for Strawberry Point, Iowa. So she left us for a little bigger dream there. And we have promoted Raphael Lamort He works at the ER as a tech, and he'll be our captain now. We hired Jada Baker and Nathan Knable into full-time status. They were both part-time temp casuals before. So the other thing I just would like to touch base on is the graph that's in there. I'm not going to go in depth on it, but Miranda, if you could pull up that next document, I'd be grateful. This is something that our new billing company has given, and I really think that there's value in this. This talks about where the billing comes from, the current billing, where we're at, what's to be collected, and how long those collectibles been out. I know that that's one of the questions that a lot of my board members had in the past. So I wanted to provide this to you. If you find it valuable, I will continue to provide it for you. If not, that's okay too. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Sorry for missing you, Barb. I did not see you up on the screen, so thank you.
Oh, not a problem. All
Question-
right, well,
Questions
oh,
for Barb?
go ahead.
Nothing at this point. All right, thank you, Barb. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Questions? PCAP NG 911 grant, there's nothing new with that. Devin?
No, Devin's online. I'm not sure if she had anything new that you want to talk about. If not, then probably gonna push the next meeting.
Yeah, okay. Any correspondence? All right, any questions from the committee? Make it like I hope to, motion to adjourn. From Welty, second. From Johnsrud, and all in favor, say aye. Apologize for here. Now I'm going to go fix my